So today's video is going to be a book haul. I have acquired quite a few books over the last couple of months, I'd say, and yeah, I haven't really been like actively going out to buy books, just because I've got quite a few that I need to get through on my to-be read pile, and this is probably all I'm going to buy until like the new year. But yeah, let's just show you what we've got. We've got quite a range of books, so hopefully there is something in here for everyone. Let's just get started. So the first book is one that had been on pre-order for a while, and that is Tim Peake's Limitless. So if you don't know who Tim Peake is, he is the first British astronaut to go into space under, you know, the UK. I think British astronauts have gone up, but they've been on like under the USA badge and under their program. So yes, I already have his book Ask an Astronaut, but I think this is a little bit more, you know, it's his autobiography, and this one, of course, because I love anything signed, is signed by Tim Peake. And yeah, he's pretty, like, he's actually like fairly local to us. He lives, I think, in the next county over, which is like maybe half an hour, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, but there's some photos all dotted through this, and I think it'll be an interesting one to read. It is quite a large book, but I think it would be quite a nice relaxed book to read, and I've not read an autobiography in some time now. So the next book I got from Costco, and this is Stories of Hope by Heather Morris. This was $7.49, and I have her other books. I've read The Tattoo of Auschwitz, and I've got her other book, which I can't remember off the top of my head the name of, but I believe this is like short stories of like hope and inspiration, and like it follows more of her as a person, her writing journey, and you know, inspiring stories that she's come across on the way. So the next couple of books I got suckered in the 2 for $8 deal at Tesco, so I picked up this one. This is The Twins of Auschwitz, the inspiring true story of a young girl surviving Mengel's hell, and I believe this is about one of the girls and her sister. So they were twins who ended up going to Auschwitz and being part of Dr. Mengel's experiments, and you know, being tortured really. I think this will be a really interesting read. If you don't know some of the books that I like to read, it's weird to say enjoy reading, but I have an interest for books on the Holocaust, and hearing different stories and different aspects and different countries and all sorts. So yes, I think this will be an interesting one to read, about this lady Eva Moses Kaur, and you know what happened to her and her twin sister. The next book I chose was The Confession by Jessie Burton. I think I may have one of her other books, I'm not sure, but the cover of this totally sucked me, and I think it's super pretty. It's got almost like a double cover on it, and it says, when Elsie Morco meets the writer Constance Holden, she quickly falls under her spell. Connie is sophisticated, bold and alluring, everything Elsie feels she is not. She follows Connie to LA, but in this city of strange dreams and razzle-dazzle, Elsie feels... well, her name's not Elsie, it's Elise. Elise feels even more out of her depth and makes an impulsive decision that will change her life forever. 3 decades later, Rose Simmons is trying to uncover the story of her mother who disappeared when she was a baby. Having learned that the last person to see her was a now reclusive novelist, Rose finds herself at the door of Constance Holden's house in search of a confession. So a little bit mystery. Yeah, The Miniaturist is her other book, which I think I picked up once and then never read it, I'm not sure. But yeah, so an interesting book with a little bit of mystery in it, so I think that'll be a good one. The next one is one that I've just finished. This is The Guest List by Lucy Foley. She's the author of The Hunting Party, which is a book I'd like to pick up as well. This book, I loved it. If you love And Then There Were None, and if you love Big Little Lies, it's sort of that same concept. It's about a group of people that go to this remote island off the coast of Ireland for a wedding. And the book is told by multiple people's perspective. So you've got the wedding planner, you've got the bride, the groom, the best man, you've got the bride's best friend and his wife, you've got the bride's sister. So they all sort of are telling their story throughout, and they're there for this wedding, and from the start they allude that there is some sort of mystery. There's possibly been a death happen, and it flits between the evening of the wedding and then leading up to the wedding day, so the day before. This was so good. Like, I was so gripped. I read it in a couple of days, which lately has been like, that's a lot for me, because the book I read before took me a couple of weeks to read. But yeah, I found this really, really gripping. The end I did not see coming. It was just super good. Like I said, if you like those other two books with the mystery and the multi perspectives, you'll like this one. And I didn't find it confusing at all when it was jumping between people. It was really easy to follow. And yeah, I definitely want to check out some of her other books. I just hope that her other book doesn't follow, it's not like exactly the same but just set in a different place, if you know what I mean. I hope it has some of its own identity. So got that one. And then the other book that I've also read is a bit of a stretch, The Diaries of a Prisoner by Chris Atkins. So this is a guy that used to be a filmmaker, and he was put in prison for tax evasion, I think. And it follows his journey in a government-led prison and what it's like for him in there. I enjoyed this book. I find things like this fascinating, and I like to read and watch documentaries on prisons and things. So yeah, I did find it really interesting. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. The only thing that sort of annoyed me is when he sometimes complained about some of the conditions, because in my head I was like, well, you're in prison for a reason, it's not supposed to be a holiday camp. Some things he talks about definitely highlight the problems that are in prisons, like the structure of them, the rehab aspect, and also how mental health is totally pushed aside, and to some extent people's human rights. So there was a fine balance for me with thinking, they deserve some help in there, and the other side of it being, well, they're in there, they've committed a crime, it's not supposed to be easy. But yeah, if you like things set in a prison and real life people's point stories, then I'd recommend this book. And then Darren went to Tesco and he also got suckered in the 2 for 8 deal, and he picked me out some really interesting different books. So the first book he picked out, which is probably the one I'm going to read next, is A Nurse's Story, My Life in A&E During the COVID Crisis. This is by Louise Curtis with Sarah Johnson. So yeah, I'm guessing it is what it says on the tin about a nurse that works in A&E through the pandemic and what it was like. I mean, it's still ongoing, but yeah, so I think that would be a good book for me to read next. The next book is one that I probably wouldn't have picked up myself, but I like it when Darren does this because I can find some real gems of this, and it's always nice to find a book that maybe you wouldn't necessarily read, but from someone else picking it up, you end up really liking. So he picked me up this one. This is by Dilly Court and it's called Dragonbone Christmas. It's a #1 Sunday Times bestseller. It is set in 1865, which is an era I don't tend to usually read about. I pretty much like anything from First World War onwards, but I will give it a go. And it says, snow is falling fast and Sally Suggs is working tirelessly to bring in enough money to keep bread on the table. Her father, a skilled rag and bone man, has fallen ill, and now Sally has taken up his trade. This is a man's world and competition is fierce, and Sally's rival Finn Kelly always seems to be one step ahead. Her family's one valuable possession in their horse. Her family's one valuable possession in their horse Flower, yet with no one to protect them, London's underbelly of black market traders circle closer. Sally needs to find help in the most unexpected places if they are to survive. So it sounds like it's about a woman living in the 1800s in London, and she is trying to fend for her family and what it sounds like doing a man's role at the time. So, you know, I'm not going to knock it. I would definitely give it a go. The next one is a hefty book. This is Lethal White, and this is a strike novel by Robert Galbraith, who we know is J.K. Rowling. These have been made into a TV drama, and it's more like, because Darren knows that I like thriller. This is probably more like crime, I would have thought. It says, when Billy, a troubled young man, comes to Private Eye Corman Strike's office to ask for his help investigating a crime he thinks he witnessed as a child, Strike is left deeply unsettled. While Billy is obviously mentally distressed and cannot remember many concrete details, there is something sincere about him and his story. But before Strike can question him further, Billy bolts from his office in a panic. Trying to get to the bottom of Billy's story, Strike and Robin Ellicott, once his assistant, now a partner in agency, set off on a twisting trail that leads them through the back streets of London in a secretive inner sanctum within Parliament and to a beautiful but sinister manor house deep in the countryside. So it's like a crime, thriller, hefty book, which I probably won't start until the new year, I would have thought. I think for next year I'm going to lower my Goodreads target for books just so I can read some heftier books and not feel guilty. I feel like definitely now we're like towards the end of the year and I'm getting closer to like reaching my target. I want to read maybe like smaller books or books that I think I can read like within a week, whereas this might take me a couple of weeks to read. So got that one. And then the last book Darren got me was this one, which is Walk the Wire by David Baldacci. He is a #1 bestseller, and I've seen his books quite often on bookshelves, but I've never picked any of them up. Again, this sounds like a murder crime. It says, remember his name, FBI agent Amos Decker is the memory man. A town with a secret. A lone hunter discovers the remains of a woman in North Dakota's Badlands. She appears to have had a post-mortem performed on her, reminiscent of those seen on TV shows, but this time there was no slab, morgue, or camera in sight. The reason why Irene Kramer's death merits an FBI investigation becomes rapidly clear when key questions surface about her mysterious past. Little is known about the school teacher, where she came from, or her true identity. She clearly had something to hide. FBI investigator Amos Decker and his colleague Alex Jameson are summoned to seek answers in the local community of London, North Dakota, which sits at the very heart of the fracking industry. Enriched with oil, money, bitter jealousies and a deep-set rivalry lie beneath a veneer of glitz and opulence. Decker soon realizes that the nearby eye-in-the-sky, the Air Force Station, may hold vital clues that this town has secrets so explosive that they could destabilize the entire country. So that sounds like a hefty book, quite serious. Like, this crime is like has some serious consequences on the back of it, and yeah, so those are all the books that I have to share with you today. Hopefully there is something in there that strikes your fancy. I definitely am interested in reading some of these books. Let me know if you want to see certain reviews on any of these books. I think I'm going to do a end of year like favourite books I've read video towards the end of December. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you've got any book recommendations, leave them down below for me, because I always like to add them to my Goodreads list. And yeah, I will see you in my next video. Bye guys.